All right. Hello, family. Welcome to the game Secret Hitler. Just to be clear, has anybody played this game before?
No.
No. Okay. So this is a game I brought back from college. It's very similar to the game Mafia, if you're familiar with that game, or it's similar to the game Clue, if you've played that. You'll begin to see parallels between those couple of games as we move along. So the object of this game is based on what team you are on. There are two teams that drive this game: Team Liberal and Team Fascist. There are different numbers of each team based on how many people are playing. As there are 5 of us in this game, there are 2 members of Team Fascist, 3 members of Team Liberal. So the object of the game, if you're on Team Liberal, is to pass 5 liberal policies. If you're on Team Fascist, you want to pass 6 fascist policies, or you would like to have the person who is Hitler to be in power. So the wrinkle to this is there's one person at the center of the game. They're on Team Fascist, and they are, relatedly Hitler. So the person who is Hitler, the liberals are trying to find out who Hitler is so they can stop him from taking power. And further down the line, for this number of players, they're also able to kill Hitler. The fascists, conversely, are trying to get Hitler into power. So, does that all make sense so far?
Yes.
Okay. So, this game is split up into rounds, and each round has 3 sections to it. That is the election, the legislative session, and the executive action. So the first step, the election, is based around these 2 additional roles. These roles will rotate throughout the game. That is the president and the chancellor. The president moves around the circle, around the players. For this house rules, we'll do it clockwise. So the president moves clockwise around the players. The president, for being selected, he gets to choose a chancellor. The rules are the chancellor can be anybody except whoever was just president or chancellor. So in that way, there's a 1-round term limit before you're allowed to assume power of chancellor or president again. At the beginning of each legislative session...
Question.
Yes.
Can the president also be chancellor?
The president cannot be chancellor. They have to be 2 different people. That's a good question. All the members of the game, they get to either vote yes, yeah, or vote 9, no, on each ballot of president and chancellor. And that composes the election phase of the round.
What happens if the president and chancellor don't win?
That's another great question. So obviously you want to have you need to have a majority vote to elect any president-chancellor pair. But if they don't get that majority vote, you pretend as if that never happened, and you move on to the next president in line. And so it basically serves to skip that. You also move down the election tracker, and I'll get to that in a little bit.
So it just moves from one person to the next person,
Correct.
but even though it's moving, they still have to vote yes or no?
So
they still have to vote yes or no.
Okay.
So then I guess it doesn't apply to this game, but if it's a game with even number of people, do ties also fail?
For our house rules, we typically have ties mean that it still wins, but you may say that differently based on numbers.
Got it.
So that composes the election portion of the round.
Mm-hmm.
After the election portion, it moves on to the legislative session.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the legislative session is driven by whoever is president and whoever is chancellor. I'll put it in front of you guys for the moment.
Okay.
And they are driven by these three these policies. So the policies, there is a fascist and there's a liberal policy. You should know that there are more fascists in the deck than liberals, and so odds are you'll probably come up with more fascist policies than liberals when you draw, especially if the policies are shuffled well. So the legislative session begins when the president draws 3 policies. The president does not show anybody what their policies are. They then discard one of the policies, again, without showing anybody what the policy is. The president then passes their 2 policies on to the chancellor. The chancellor then gets to look at the 2 policies they were passed, and they get to discard one more. Then they get to put the last policy down on the board. So like I said, there's both fascist and liberal policies. If you're on Team Liberal, as we discussed before, you want to have your policies passed. If you're on Team Fascist, you want to have your policies passed.
So is that what helps identify then who's a liberal versus?
So that's where it starts to echo Clue and Mafia, is that your decisions on which policies you put down are going to be guided by what team you're on. But your role, whether you're a liberal or a fascist, that's secret. That's in this little envelope. You open it up at the start of the round, you figure out who you are, and then you put it back. And in theory, nobody knows who
Start
you
of
are.
the round or start of the game?
At the start of the game.
If there's
Your role is constant for the entire game. And with this number of players, the fascist and Hitler, they will know who each other are. So if you're on Team Fascist, you're going to know who your teammate is. But the liberals will not. So that's where it becomes this.
How will they
secret
know?
role. They will have to figure that out over the course of the game. And that's where these policies become indicative in that way.
No. I'll get it. Go ahead.
I have a question.
Yes.
If there's always a minority of fascists, how do fascists ever win?
So the fascists win because there are more liberal cards, or more fascist cards than liberal cards, and B, because the fascists know each other. The fascists are always going to say
But you
they
haven't
want.
explained how do the fascists know each other?
So I mentioned that with this number of players, the fascists at the start of the round, when we get set up, I'll get to that when we start doing a walkthrough of the game. It makes more sense there.
Okay.
But the fascists and the fascists and Hitler, they open their eyes and acknowledge each other, and kind of a heads down, close your eyes section of the game. So like I said, I'll get to that when we start doing a walkthrough. I'm going to finish talking about the steps to the round first.
Okay, can I ask one question?
Sure.
When you fill up say you get all of your policies passed here, does that end the game?
That ends the game, right? So
Okay.
that's where we were talking earlier. The goal of the game for the liberals is they want to pass all of the policies here. The goal of the game for the fascists is they want to pass all of their policies here. The 6 for fascists and 5 for liberal.
Okay.
And that's again how
I
many.
think we got it now.
You got it? Okay. If you got questions again, you can
We
absolutely
might ask during the game.
After the legislative section of the round is over, after the policy is put down, then you move into what's called executive action. The executive action is not going to be there for if a liberal policy is passed. It's really only going to matter if it's a fascist policy that's passed. Again, it varies for the number of players that you're playing with. The boards tell you on there, this is 5 or 6 players. There's another one for 7 or 8, I think another one for 9 or 10.
So then, are there instances where even if you're a liberal, you would want to pass a fascist policy in order to get like that ability?
I mean, it can be when you're thinking strategically, and again, that's something that we'll kind of touch on strategy wise once we go to the walkthrough of the game. But absolutely, Because you're right, because the liberals don't have access to executive actions when they pass. But the fascists, if a fascist policy is passed, they do. In this game, there are 3 executive actions when you get down the line here. So the first 2 fascist policies, they don't mean anything for executive action. But the third fascist policy means the president, whoever is the president that round, they get to examine the top 3 cards. So what that means is the president is going to know what the next cards to come down the pipe are. So they're going to know and be able to validate whatever the next president and chancellor pair do.
Do they have to say what it is, or can they lie?
They actually, right, so they don't have to say what it is. And because they're the only person looking at it, they could lie, or they could tell the truth, but nobody knows.
So it's good to be the president because that's how you actually eliminate people in your own head, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. The president has the power in that way. When you get further down the line, the president also gets to kill a player, which is to remove them from the game. And so, again, that motive is going to be based on what team you're on. If you're a fascist, you probably want to kill off a liberal. If you're a liberal, you would like to kill off a fascist, or even better, Hitler. If you get here and you kill Hitler, that means that you win the game. The liberals win the game if Hitler is killed. If you get into this section and Hitler is elected chancellor, then the fascists win the game. And that's where it does become an addition to policies.
Is it
ways to win?
After you pass 3 or after you pass 4? Does it have to be in the dark red or just up to the dark red?
It has to be in the dark red.
So after you pass 4.
So after
on the 4th one.
Yeah, on the 4th one.
Well, so then in order for them to win, Hitler has to be elected and put down a fascist.
No, I think I understand what your question is now. So if you pass 4 here, the next time there's an election session, that's when it matters. If there's 4 policies down, yeah. So it's proactive after this policy. So if there's only 3 on the board and you in the legislative session, right? If there's only 3 on the board and in the legislative session, fascist policy is passed, Hitler can be the chancellor when that 4th is passed, but that doesn't mean he wins the game. It's the next time after is when it matters if Hitler's elected chancellor.
Then I guess the other question is,
Sure.
If you kill someone, do they say what they are?
Right. So that's a good one because you're right. Since roles are secret, the only thing you say when you are killed is you say whether or not you're Hitler. Because like I said, if you kill Hitler, then the game is over and the liberals have won. But if you've not killed Hitler, you don't say anything beyond that. So you
just say I'm not Hitler.
Say I'm not Hitler. Okay.
So if I was Hitler and right away I'm the president, do I do anything differently or no? I just play as if I'm a fascist
and does Hitler win if he's president?
Yeah, there's two questions here. There's one great. Can you explain your question?
So if when we're coming around and I become president and I'm Hitler, do I do anything different? Or I just play as like my fascist part?
Are you talking before you pass the 4th policy or after? After? No, because it is the chancellor that matters, not the president. If Hitler's elected chancellor, the fascists win.
So
if Hitler's elected president, you continue on without saying who you are.
So if we thought Harriet was Hitler and I said I want her to be chancellor, you guys should all say no, don't let her be chancellor.
Well,
right? Is that what we would do?
If you are on Team Liberal, yes, you want to keep Hitler from being from being chancellor after this 4th one is passed.
Okay.
So then, is it fair to say that everybody wants to look like a liberal?
Yes,
Okay.
that's part of the role of the secret roles. Is you would like to conceal your identity, and the best way to do that is say I'm a liberal. If you're a fascist, people are gonna know I don't want to help out that team. I'm
Okay.
going to avoid her. And
Okay.
again, that's when we talk strategy. As we start playing the game,
Mhm.
that's where the election session
Mhm.
it becomes really important because
Okay.
then you're able to advocate for or against your team by having the president and chancellor elections.
Okay.
So you're allowed to vote yes or no on those.
Got it. All right.
The last thing that we need is see if I have it in the game. So we should have, and I must not have it with me. We should have an election tracker here.
Do you want to use a coin? I'll go grab a coin.
If you could, that'd be great. But you can listen while you're grabbing that. The election tracker tracks how many times you voted yes or no to a presidential ticket. If you have voted down 3 presidential tickets in a row, then you reveal the top policy and enact it, regardless of what. This is perfect. Regardless of what the policy is, and then
Oh, you just count the no's. You just count the vote no's. That's what that tracker.
correct.
Is? Okay.
You count
What
not the number of times any person has voted no.
Right. How
But the
many
number of-
people?
In a row?
How many presidential tickets in a row have been voted no?
Okay. Got it.
So what happens on this one, you said?
Sorry, I think that's when you were out of the room. So that is if you get to here,
That
you take the
you
top.
have failed 3 in a row.
You have failed 3 in a row. You take the
Oh, I
top
see.
policy
And put it wherever.
and put it wherever. You don't get to choose. There's no decision
And
making.
then does that candy get reset after that?
And the candy gets reset after that.
The winner gets the candy.
Should I shuffle this?
I can get it.
Oh,
Got it.
Thanks. I appreciate
All
that.
right.
Alright, let's
Got
just
it?
play.
All right.
We'll ask more questions.
It's a
when we get
lot.
Yeah. At any
It's a
time if you
lot
have
to
questions. Yeah. If
Okay,
at any time you
let's
have
start.
questions.
It may be
feel
one of
free
those that
to
you have to
ask.
play a little bit before
Right.
you kind of get it.
Yeah, you get a few.
I get it though. Like you said, if you think of it like Clue and process of elimination, that's what it feels like. Is it right?
So
Okay.
I'll now pass out the roles. Your roles are here in this envelope. You don't want to tell anybody what your role is, but you want to know
Okay.
for yourself. So I shuffle these very briefly.
Who do we think it's gonna be? I think it's gonna be Dad.
I think I want to be Hitler.
Don't tell anybody.
So nobody say what their role is.
Yeah, I'm Hitler.
Sure not. Be quiet. Okay.
That's funny, so am I.
So am I.
How many
Nobody
Hitlers
say
are
what their
there?
role is. And then I'm going to pass out ballots. So you should have a yes and a no. And it
Okay.
doesn't really matter whether you have these facing up or down
Right.
because
Everybody knows you got a yes.
everybody
Alright, let's
knows
just
you
start.
have a
I'm
yes.
All right. I'm ready.
Okay. So now to set up the game, and again, this is going to vary based on the number of players. Everybody close their eyes,
Okay.
and so this part is supposed to be secret. So now the fascist and the Hitler, please open your eyes and wave to each other, and go ahead and wave to the camera as well, so that just for these purposes. So.
Okay. Did they do it? Did
So
they do it?
those two have done it.
Okay.
So now everyone, please open your eyes.
Oh, okay.
So if
I have a
anyone,
question.
yes,
Sorry. Is Hitler supposed to know who his other fascists are?
yes,
Okay.
Well, because Hitler is a fascist, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
yes.
I didn't know if it was supposed to be like the fascists knew who Hitler was, but Hitler doesn't know who the fascists are.
No, the fascists, and for this number of players, the fascists and the Hitler know each other.
Is there a point where they wouldn't?
For more players, yes, and that's when it's the best thing to do is check the rule book here.
Okay.
To double check.
All right, let's just go.
that.
So it's probably even better the more players you play with, I bet.
Right.
It's probably just even better to play the game with more.
Right.
There's more players. Okay.
Right. But that's okay. Make
Yeah,
it
no,
fun.
that's good.
Alright.
We're good.
Let's go.
Okay.
Okay, who's starts?
I'm going to put the president right here. We're going to start in the corner. So now, strategy-wise, I know you talked about this earlier. Strategy-wise, very early in the game, you know very little. So it doesn't really matter all that much if you want to vote yes or no to any presidential ticket, because there's not really a way that you can know who the liberals are and who the fascists are unless they tell you otherwise.
So you vote on me before I make chancellor? You vote on me first?
No, you do. The president chooses chancellor.
Okay.
And then you vote on the ticket. You don't vote on the individual members.
Oh, okay. All right. So I get to pick
So
chancellor.
you get to pick chancellor.
I make Dad chancellor.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we're in the election session, and if we'll remember, you vote yes or no to each.
All right. Yes.
So.
Yes.
Did I vote for myself?
Yeah.
Yes.
No,
you can vote for
I
yourself.
don't want it.
You don't want her.
No.
Oh, we win
Okay.
anyway. 4
So,
yeses to
so-
no.
4 yeses and 1 no.
Very
the
nice.
yes
Vote
is
against your
passed.
mom. That's terrible. Okay, now I pick
So-
3 policies.
Right. So now we're in the legislative session. So
Does
Three
it really
policies.
matter what the name is, to be honest?
It's okay.
it helps to understand.
And then I put 1 down.
Correct. You've drawn 3. You discard 1
I
and
discarded
pass 2 on
one.
to
I
the
go
chancellor.
against- Oh, you're not my
Yeah,
chancellor.
what are you doing?
Sorry. You're my chancellor.
Oh,
Right.
She didn't.
So
she
it
didn't
is
see
secret. It is secret only to the president and chancellor.
Okay.
Okay.
Pick liberal.
And then I pass one.
You
So-
pass 1 and you discard the other.
Who do you pass it to?
You,
No.
you pass it. You put
So
it
it
on.
Play
goes
it.
here, right?
Play it. Correct.
Play it.
Okay.
Oh.
Fascist.
Right.
Did you have
So-
Hitler.
What were you given though?
4 liberal cards.
You're only given 2 cards for one thing.
What?
So here's where the
Are you
game
concerned?
What did you
starts.
give him?
I gave him a liberal and a fascist.
You're lying.
here's-
You're the worst liar ever. You're such a bad liar.
So here's where the game begins to get complicated. Is people can say I have
You-
this or I have that, but you
Simone.
have no idea.
At least
You're
riddle me
lying about.
this. Did you discard a liberal?
No. No.
So he's liberal, she's fascist. That was easy.
So yeah.
You second line.
So well, as Peyton has very quickly pointed out, but as might still be coming to everyone else, so you can figure out a lot based on what policies are passed and which ones are not.
I think I'm killing this. We should keep going so I can.
Okay,
Quiet.
Hold on.
Come on.
Just stick with the
Play
game.
with us.
I'm glad you're picking it up this easily, but stick with the game here. So right. So Dad here, he had 2 policies to choose from, and we don't know which ones he discarded. All we know is the one that he passed. And we don't know, Mom, what policies you had, only what eventually came out of it. So now everyone can choose to say, I trust Mom. I think that she had, I think she just had the choice that got passed on, and Dad is the fascist. Or you can believe Dad and say that,
Peyton, stop.
Alright, sorry.
or you can believe Dad and say that that he didn't have a choice, that he got 2 fascist policies, he had no choice but to pass one.
Okay.
So, it's now a game of trust.
Okay.
So this early in the game, we'll probably go through one more round here. This early in the game, there are no executive actions you get to take. So this round is over, and the round continues by
Now you're-
moving the president on in a clockwise fashion.
And you get to pick who's chancellor, right? Is that
No,
correct?
you get to
So
nominate.
you get to nominate a chancellor, and it can be anybody except who
Except
was
me.
just in the previous leadership. So it
Okay.
can't be Mom,
I can't do
and it
that.
can't be Dad, but it can be anyone else.
Oh, who does that lead?
One of
I'll
these.
One
nominate
of these
Peyton.
2 here.
Peyton, you're
What?
chancellor.
Your chancellor.
Well,
Cool.
Well,
I
you
don't
have to
know. I
vote.
haven't voted yet.
So right.
I vote yes.
choose yes or no.
I vote
Yes.
yeah.
Dad votes no, but that doesn't count. Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes.
Okay.
So 4-1. So again, this ticket passes.
Oh, it says it on the back.
Okay.
So look alive. We picked 3 policies here.
It says right here.
And only
don't
you look
speak
at 'em.
while in session.
Listen, stop
Everyone,
talking.
shh.
Okay, that may be true, but again, we're just going through an explanation here. We're just going through an explanation.
And you love a teenage brother giving you a hard time.
So,
It says right here, don't speak.
Okay, shush. That's you. Give it to Peyton, and then Peyton picks what to put down.
I was given 2 fascists.
Sure.
Did you get 3 fascists, or did you get
Does she have to
2
answer
fascists?
that?
No.
Yeah,
she can answer it,
But
but
you can
she
lie.
There's
you
no
can choose
obligation to tell the truth.
say, yeah, correct. Feel free to lie.
Could you ask me the question again? I
Yeah,
was so busy.
you picked up 3. Did you get 2 fascists and a liberal, or 3 fascists?
3 fascists.
And
Are you
again,
being honest?
We have
Yeah.
Okay.
we have no
That
way
means
of knowing.
that means that
We have
she
no way of
probably
knowing.
had 2 fascists and a liberal, because the odds are kind of low that you would have 6 fascists in a row, is it not?
Well, it depends how the
It
cards were
depends.
mixed.
You
Right.
never know.
And so you
Okay.
just-
Are you a bad shuffler?
I tend to be a good shuffler.
All right, then I'm gonna say it's pretty low odds.
All right. Peyton has to leave. Are we gonna do
No,
it? No.
we can do a few
Okay,
more.
let's do more. Okay, he
Okay.
wants
So
to
then
know
you'll
more.
go.
So we'll go through
Then
one
he
more.
comes present, right?
Right. So that's exactly
Okay.
right. So it continues in
And then he
rotation.
picks.
Right. That's exactly it. So let's.
Okay, so here's a question I didn't
Sure.
cover. Can I pick up policy cards first, or do I have to choose the?
No, you have to choose the
Chancellor.
chancellor first. That's all right.
Okay.
You have to choose the chancellor
All right.
first because you do the
Oh,
election session
every day.
first.
This is nepotism.
Three.
But-
Is that 4? I
So-
think that's 4.
Wait.
Okay.
You can't no because we've not had the election yet, so you
Oh.
can't pick up those policies yet.
Okay, we're gonna have
Put
to
'em in
maybe
five.
shuffle these again, right? Because I
Okay,
kind
we'll
of
put those in discard, and this is why we walk through here.
Okay,
Alright,
So
I
you do
vote.
the election
I vote-
session
I
first.
vote no. I think these 2 are the fascists.
I vote yes.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a yeah.
No.
So this is another 4-1. So this ticket passes again. So now
Boo.
3,
Hand me 3 so I don't take too many.
1, 2, 3.
Okay.
There you go.
And then put one down.
They're gonna pass a fascist.
All right.
Do not change.
Where's the discard? Oh, the big one,
So
right?
discard is
Yeah.
the big one.
Okay.
Put one in discard.
And then this goes to the chancellor.
Cancelion.
Oh,
Then
and
you pick
I'm
one.
the one who picks.
We'll see what she throws down here. So
Oh, I just looked.
be very enlightening. Wow, big surprise on that one.
This is
Did you get 3?
this is a tough decision.
You always get 3.
No, he's got
Liberals.
There you
Mm.
go.
All right.
Did you have a choice?
Did you?
No.
So what that means is, did you have a choice between a liberal and fascist?
So
you're
then-
saying, you're saying that
I'm saying
you
no.
had 2 liberal policies.
Did you pick up 3 liberal
Yeah.
policies?
Dan's the
Yes.
liberal. I don't believe him.
I believe that.
I believe that.
Okay.
So
But now we don't know that whether she's a fascist or a liberal because she didn't have a choice.
okay, so that's exactly right. So that's
So we
where,
don't know
that's
anything
where,
about her.
So
So then-
Peyton. So
I'm
so
not
just
present.
to help, let's walk through the explanation first.
She's anxious.
I appreciate.
I want to keep it going.
I appreciate that you're eager to keep going, but in the sake of making sure that
Explaining for
everyone's on
everybody
the same
else.
page, let's make sure that we're explaining what's going on.
Okay.
And I'm glad that you picked it up so quickly. So the
That's because he has a young brain.
It is. It's the young
I'm
brain.
working on
let's leave it there. So the that's where it becomes a little bit more difficult when it comes to moving on here. Is if you're on a team, ideally you'd like to have all of your policies passed at once.
Mhm.
But you would also like to know who the other people on your team are if you're a liberal.
Okay.
So that's where it might make sense to say that you want to give your chancellor a choice. Grandma here didn't have a choice. She was given 2 liberal policies, which to Dad's idea is good because it means that he has his team advanced because they have more policies. But the drawback is.
But I
that-
was given 3 liberal policies,
yeah.
so I didn't have a choice
So
either.
you didn't have a choice, but let's say you are given you were given some fascist policies in there, it might be beneficial to pass it along at least this early in the game, so you can figure out what grandma is and you can know who's
Give
on
her a
that team.
chance.
I'm
If
giving
she
it
has
to
a
Harriet.
choice,
Wait.
so let's
What?
be sure that we're understanding everything here.
Are we
Once-
not done?
Okay.
Uh,
That makes sense though.
that's
Early.
I just thought you were finished explaining.
That's all right. I was just about finished, and we can keep moving on.
Okay.
So now we've moved on to the next round here.
Right.
And we start again with our election. So right. So
Yeah,
everyone
vote.
says
Can I vote for me?
you
Yeah.
can vote for you.
All right,
You can
everyone.
vote for
says-
yourself.
Unanimous.
That was
Congratulations.
a fine vote, and it did
It's a
pass. So
landslide
now we've moved
victory.
on to the legislative
Yeah, but now we
section.
can see that.
Oh, you can?
You idiot.
Okay. Now we've moved on to the legislative session again. It's a good thing that this is. It's a good thing that this is a practice.
Oh goodness, you can see that, can't you? Of course you can see that. I don't know why I just assumed you couldn't see that.
It's okay.
It's
Go
alright.
ahead. Go ahead.
Just in
Should I
practice.
just go with it anyway?
Yeah,
Yes.
just go with it anyway.
Everyone knows what it is.
Not me.
You're about to find out what it is.
Okay.
So now you discard one and put the other one down.
Okay, wait, I have a question then. If
Hold
we
on,
can
let
sorry.
her finish her part first, Pete.
Well,
Hold on.
my question is related to the power. Do we shuffle these back in and put them under? Because it says look at the top 3, and there's only one.
That's exactly what we'll do. So I mean you do it like you would any
No
other
reason
game when it comes.
Wait,
time
I'm looking
to,
at what it says.
Can you please?
I'm
put this
looking
back?
at what it says.
I would appreciate if you would put this back so we can continue the game.
I need to see what it says.
I'm going to
He's
explain that to
telling
you.
you.
so
Okay,
please put that
okay,
down.
okay.
This is what we do
Goodness
all the time.
gracious.
So yes.
We
so
know it's
now
real.
at this point you would go ahead and you shuffle just as
Maybe
you would
you're
with
the
any
Hitler.
other- Just as you would with any other game.
Quiet.
Just go ahead and shuffle.
We know it's real.
Now you put this down.
Now,
Wait, who
Now-
is that?
Now, right. And so now, as you were checking out, and I'm glad that you're getting ahead again. As you check it out, the person who is the president, so Peyton in this case that would be you, you get to look at the top 3 policies. And again, that's when we talk about the strategy. You know in your head and can validate the next legislative session to come down the pipeline because
Do you
and
flip them or
ideally,
you put
no,
them
he
back?
doesn't flip them. So
Okay.
let's
Okay,
not do that in the
okay,
future. But what you'll do is the next person to come through, you'll know what policies they're receiving, and so you'll be able to validate their actions.
All right,
And so
great.
that's the end of our first executive session,
I always
where-
wanted to be president.
and
There
that's
you
that's
go.
the end of our first executive action session where we had something to do.
okay.
At this point in time, would we like to continue maybe one more round, or
Yeah,
one
let's
more,
finish.
one
Let's
more.
finish. Let's finish.
All right, brief editor's note here. If at all possible, I'd like to be graded on the assignment for everything up until now. I recognize it's probably running a little long in time, and so if you don't even want to watch the last half of this, fine by me. Also, at the end of the video, a teenage brother it did as a teenage brother might be expected to do, and it was a little less than cooperative in the entire process. I'll show it here just in case you need to see it, but just a little forewarning and a brief request in the process. So without further ado, here's the rest of the video.
I'm getting antsy here.
Ooh.
So you can put that
Uh-huh.
chancellor there.
Can you be chancellor?
Yes.
Yes.
Because you weren't just president.
You
No.
were just
Right.
president. You, weren't, you
No.
could not be. Correct.
Why?
You could not be. And
No.
Peyton could
No,
not be.
these are the 2 fascists.
Okay. So
Guarantee it.
at this point in time, we once again get to vote. But further down the line, as Peyton has so wisely picked up on, you really start to know, to note to yourself
A 9.
who the
We have a 9.
2 to
You-
3.
Harriet, they're the fascists. You don't want them.
at this point in time.
You need to vote no.
No.
Peyton, if you could listen to me on this
We
one,
know-
I'd appreciate
we know
it.
the fa-
If you could listen to me, I'd
Okay.
appreciate it.
Yep.
So at this point in time, you really do start to get to learn whether whether people are fascist or liberal, and you want to make sure that your team is getting elected into power.
Okay.
So, can we one more time? Could we see what the votes were on that one?
We already voted.
No.
Yes.
No.
Which is
It's 2 no's
so
and
that's
3 yeses.
two. So that's 2 no's and that's 3 yeses. That's exactly it. So this, because it's still a majority,
Mhm.
this ticket passes,
Okay.
and we continue just as we would. So how do we begin?
You pick 3.
Oh.
That's
Hello.
exactly it.
And then you put 1 down and I get it.
These cards are so,
They're thick.
yeah.
Thick, but that's all right.
They're chubby.
They're thick like my head.
Oh.
Skull.
I looked again. I already know what they are. It's okay.
Shh. You can't be peeking at
Quiet.
the cards.
No talking.
I'd appreciate if you were cooperative for this game. I'm glad that you're so excited, but I appreciate your cooperation here.
All right, now I put a card up here,
No,
right?
no.
Oh,
So right. So at this point in time,
I
you
pass it
discard one and then pass
Okay.
it. You don't show the other ones except
Put 'em
for
down.
2.
Should bring to the chancellor.
Right. Bring in the chancellor, and we continue with the legislative session.
And I put 1 down.
Down.
Well, I'm gonna be
Fascist.
Oh,
You guys are obvious.
So now
Did you hand
it's
her?
becoming.
Did you hand her the 2 fascists, or did you hand her a
I can't
fascist?
tell you
woman?
that, can I?
Go ahead.
You can lie.
You can lie. You
Oh.
can choose whether or not to tell, and you can choose
Did
whether
you
or not to
did
tell.
you hand her the 2 fascists, or did you hand her a fascist? Because on the top there were 2 fascists and a liberal.
There was a choice.
So let's walk through again how you know that. Besides,
I know
you
that
may
from the
have
presidential power.
Peyton, stop
Right.
talking.
That's because he was looking at my cards.
Okay.
So you know that because you looked here. But again, you could be lying about what you chose. So at this point in time, we continue with the next executive action portion of the game. And this, right, so that's a great question. And so at this point in time, we move along to the president. So the president is the person who gets to choose what to do. And with this number of players at this point in time, the president chooses to kill somebody and remove them from the game. If you're a liberal, you'd like to kill a fascist or maybe Hitler. If you are a fascist, you probably want to kill
Can you kill
somebody that's a
yourself?
liberal.
No.
You cannot kill yourself, but you can kill somebody who's on the ticket with you.
I shall
Kill her.
kill
Kill her.
my chancellor.
And
Yes.
I kill your chancellor.
Do it.
And you don't have to confer with anybody, you just have to make that's the statement. So you're going to
Do
kill the chancellor. At this point in time, if somebody's removed from the game, they don't get to participate in the future. But the one thing that they do have to reveal is whether or not they were Hitler. So, were you Hitler?
Yes, that was Hitler.
That means
Yeah.
the liberal
Obvious.
team. That means the liberal team is wrong.
Yay.
Harriet, were you the
We
other
were close. We were the 2 fascists.
I know that.
You too?
And around the table here were the liberals, and the liberals have won.
It's just